down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
All right, ladies, gentlemen, savvy investors worldwide. The day has arrived. That's right. Mrs. Savvy is in the house, is in the building. My wife and I, we have just got back from family camp, and it was an amazing experience. And I was laying on the couch about 3 minutes ago when Shanae April VanCauwenbergh, my best everything, said, "I'm ready to do the why you slow rolling me on interviewing me for the podcast." And I know a lot of men out there that follow my show, maybe a few women, because you probably don't like me because the way I talk. There's one special woman that loves me to death. That's Shanae April VanCauwenbergh. And she wants to clear the air. And I said, okay, we'll clear the air on the radio. And Shanae, I'm just excited for you to even be willing to be on the radio. Mm-hmm. And I know that you love women, and I know that you have a voice for women. And I know that you printed out a whole sheet of 20 questions that you want to clarify from the other podcasts. And we were looking at the stats the other day. The live recording of Love and Marriage or Money and Marriage podcast has been like the -- 1 download just recently. And I was telling you about that. But let's just get back to the deal here. So the two questions that I would like, and then you can answer any question or do whatever you want to do because, A, we're married and you're in control right now. But how do women deal with an entrepreneur? I know that's just a kind of a broad question, and we'll get specific here in a minute. But how would you educate or help women understand that entrepreneur guy?
Well, it's kind of a loaded question when you just think about it from the beginning, an entrepreneur, because I think it sounds sexy, like entrepreneur, CEO, you think probably for most women, it's that image of the guy that's got it all, the car, the house, the big tab, put it on my tab, I'll take care of you type of thing. But it's really, that's at the superficial level. That's probably what the culture sells to everybody. And women probably buy into that entrepreneur business, person that's going to take me, wine me, dine me. But it's really an entrepreneur, a true entrepreneur is much deeper than that.
So the fake swagger that may draw a few women in of this weird mentality, but
right.
A lot of women are anti, or they're scared, or they're riskful. And I'm assuming, and we're going to cover today the Brian Tracy seminar,
yes,
where I failed miserably, and I'll set that up here in a minute.
Right.
But how did you deal with me when I'm constantly changing? I got this money making idea.
Right.
We're gonna be millionaires.
Yes. And this is a comment, you have to understand this, okay? And so first of all, I love this question because I think truly when you find your mate, and for all you women out there who are listening, that your husband is the one that comes home, or your boyfriend or whoever, and they come home and they're the one that's they've got the new idea. And this is the idea, this is the ticket, this is, they're constantly creating new business models. Maybe they have a business right now they're running, and, they're constantly looking for a way to provide. And their way of providing is this ingenuity in their mindset. I want to talk to you and tell you that, number one, you can never operate out of fear when he comes home and tells you that he has an idea. That God has given him this ability to see into the future, that just because he says an idea doesn't mean it's going to happen, that he really needs you to open your heart, open your mind, and just be present in that moment and go down that road with him, whatever that idea is, whatever it could be. Just exercise it with him. What he needs from you right now is to not necessarily be devil's advocate, not necessarily be like, oh my gosh, is this going to be another thing that we're going to have to throw money at? Is this going to be... Like, right in that moment, he just needs somebody to really be a bouncing wall of, you know, hey, I've got this idea. What do you think? And you just need to be the listener and listen to what he has to say. I mean, it may die tomorrow. I don't know how many ideas Stephen brought home from the early days of our marriage that were, you know, they seemed crazy to me. Like at the time, like what is he like an event and who and what and where? And I was just like, Mike, okay. And they would die the next day, meaning like he would say, you know, I thought about that and I don't think that's really going to be a good idea. But if I had killed his idea the day before, and really smashed him on like, how is that going to be possible and where are we going to get the money and how, then I would have no longer been that support system. I would have become like the dream killer, in what God had really given him, which was this innovative mindset. And it's really what drew me to him to begin with, you know, is that ability to see things differently. So,
okay. So what about the late, now most women, and I don't know, I don't have data, but most women, want a man to take care of them. They're looking for security. I mean, in general. Right. And I believe that men are the providers.
Yeah. Right.
Now, ladies out there that, you know, when I first married Shanae, she was the provider of our family. She had a successful job, a career, and I was just starting out. But I know that a lot of ladies are fearful of security. Like they can't live on the street because of an idea that went bad. I think that's their driving force of anti or devil's advocate towards the entrepreneur.
It
is because we're going to be broke and we can't pay the mortgage.
That's right.
So how do you fight that fear? Or are you just some special female out there? Or how'd you cope with that? Mm-hmm. How'd you deal with that? Because your parents were not like that. They're not entrepreneur at all.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a great question, because I think what I would tell women in that situation was what I did have early on was a really good definition of what money was to me. And I think you have to know that. I was not, money was not a defining factor to who I was. So if, meaning I didn't have a sense of security or safety from money, because my sense of security and safety came from a higher power and came from my spiritual relationship with God. And so, I knew that I didn't have to have a certain purse or a certain thing, just to show society that I was successful, nor did I ever have to have a sense of safety, because my sense of safety and security came also from God. I mean, my life is not in my own
I'm down
control.
with the God thing.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
But there's some people that, for me, let me clarify. I know that I can go make money. I know if I threw in and mortgaged our house and it failed, I know that we wouldn't starve. Now, that came from my mom. She's like, Stephen, I worry about your brother. I don't worry about you. I know that you will never starve. Mm-hmm. So in me, there's this tenacity in me that I know that I can sustain. Okay, regardless. Now, of course, I have a family and my risks are different than they are before.
Right.
But for you as a gal, how did you overcome that fear?
No, I just never, I take risk. I mean, I see a life of safety as a boring day-to-day. We're just going to pay the bills. We're not going to go out and try anything new, as just living below what our abilities are. And I just married to a husband that not only chases ideas and comes up with new things all the time. I just saw that in my own mind from the very beginning of I would just be bringing you down.
But did you ever wonder that you could provide for yourself?
Well, sure, but to me, that's a very lonely and selfish life.
No, but I think that's important as an entrepreneur. I mean, I operate from zero-sum basis, meaning if all things went awry, what would I do tomorrow to make money?
Right.
Now, your parents provided for you. They're wonderful parents. And then you had your own jobs. You had your own money. You had your own lifestyle before we met.
Right.
I mean, you were still in school. I mean, was there risks that you took then? Or is it, how did you succumb to my risk taking? Was it just based out of support as a wife? Or did it give you thrill as an individual that we were taking risks together?
Well, I just knew. I mean, my dad was taking risks, but he was doing it in a very safe way. I mean, obviously, when we were together, he was into mutual funds. So I knew some vocabulary about finances, and I knew about money, and I knew about that side of it. And so that had probably given me some kind of basic information that was like, okay, I knew basically this as a female, that I couldn't spend my way into...
Well,
wealth. Yeah, I couldn't do that. So that's a basic thing I knew. I knew that if I was going to try to become wealthy or invest, for him investing was in mutual funds, which was completely foreign when I was, married to you because you were opposite on real estate. So that took me a while to come over to that side. That was the dark side. I was like, whoa, I'm so confused. But I knew you had to invest, and I knew to invest you had to save, and I knew to save you couldn't spend. That's the basic premises, which I was a spender.
So thrifty.
And so I had to be thrifty. I saw my dad be thrifty. I saw, he was reading personal development books. I mean, a lot of that leaks into your mindset in different ways. And then to answer the question, I mean, I was a risk taker, and so, I mean, taking a risk with money and learning and growing in that area, it was a long process when we got married to understand real estate, to understand that risk. But it just made sense once we went down that road, and once I read the books, or once I...
Sure.
That's when it really started to see the change, and like, no, I see what the risk is now.
Okay, and then I guess the reward... I mean, did you ever assume that when we met, I had about 5 houses?
Right.
Right? And
yeah.
when we met... I was cool trying to... You should listen to this.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let me just say. Okay. So we had been married for like about a year. And we decided that we're going to do our goals together. And that was like a fun, like, okay, cool, let's write our top 10 goals. Like, okay. So he goes and writes his 10 goals down. And then I'm writing mine down, which are like less TV, working, And he's like, I think I'm going to have 10 houses. And I remember I was in the kitchen at our old house, and I almost like stopped and probably peed my pants because I was like, double-digit houses? What would that be like? Because at the time, he was managing them yourself. There really wasn't building. Like you were doing it all on your own, everything. Right. And I was just like, 10 houses. That's a lot. I mean, now that's laughable. Like, I can't even believe I had like a heart attack back then, but...
Okay. Another question I have, I wrote down, a gentleman's out there married or about to get married, and the lady is not supportive in this endeavor with money.
Right.
What advice would you give him to communicate to her? Now, what we dumb men do is that we hand you a book, and I did that to you.
Yes, right.
And I said, read this book.
Right.
So go into why'd you read the book, and then what advice would you give to a lady that maybe not as, I mean, you just sound like the superwoman out there, and I know these men are listening. Oh yeah, Stephen's just lucky that he has this risk reverse chick.
Right.
Great.
Right.
That's why he has so many houses.
Yeah.
Well, of course, I would not be this successful if it wasn't for you. Period. But every good man, there's a woman behind it. We agree that. We know that. But there was a transformation process. I had to bring you on board. And I had big goals.
Yes.
And you had goals.
Right.
You suppressed some of your goals for my goals.
Absolutely. It was a team effort. Okay, so let me first talk to the man, and then we'll go to the wife of the relationship. So the question for how would a man talk to his wife who's trying to bring her on board? This is what I would say. First, don't talk. Listen. She needs to know. Like, you need to know, and if you don't know, and this could change year to year, even if you've been married for 20 years, your ideas and your thoughts about money or where you need to be have evolved in time. Mm-hmm. And so she at one point when we were newly married, I even bought the fake purses because I thought that was the cool thing to do coming out of college, right? And I'm like, I'm so over that now. Like, I'm just beyond that.
I don't even want a logo.
And so, right. And so this is like, you're evolving and what you're thinking, feeling, and connecting with your finances. And so I would say he needs to listen to her first. He needs to find out, where is her sense of security? What does she see in the future?
Or
What's her plan? Does she have, like, what does that look like for her? What does she want her retirement? I mean, just come up with a fun, probably, question, not a loaded question, like, where do you want to be in 10 years? I would not be like, whoa, okay, if she's not, I'm a goal-oriented person, but most women may not be. And so I'm teetering on the higher percentile people. Okay. Just like, hey, what do you want to do when we retire? What does that look like? Because eventually you're going to get to the money, and how much money is it going to take for you to have a certain lifestyle that you're looking for? That's what you're looking for.
Okay, how about the question when we were dating? What would you do with $1 million?
That's a good question, because it's a fun question. It's a good leading up to, like, hey, where do we, what would you do? What would I do? Let's have fun with this. But then also go into, like, hey, really, when we're older and the kids are out of the house, like, what kind of lifestyle do you think we'll travel here or there, or what are we going to do? And then, okay, well, what's the plan? How are we going to get there? And then this is where you need to really hear her heart on money. And this is where hopefully it will come out. She's driven by the security or the health insurance. And guys, I mean, here's a big red flag here. Most of the time, it's driven, it could be fear, but the kids play a huge role in this. Like, am I going to have enough for the kids to do these things? Or am I going to have enough for them to go to school? Or I'm just throwing out questions here, but these could be not her personally tied to money. It could be what she's seeing for the kids down the road.
Well, and also, I think it can contribute to how they were raised. Their parents could have been driven by brands or driven by fear, or a community of friends, or there was a gal that I met, their counselor, her parents were very entrepreneur.
Right.
Okay, here's a question that popped in my mind. What sacrifices have you made during because, like, I don't think the man thinks that I'm making all the sacrifices, and honestly, I feel that way. Like, yeah, I want a 4-wheeler,
right.
But I know that's not sound, because if I take that $4,000 for a 4-wheeler and invest that $4,000 into a real estate transaction, an asset, a rental property, I know that could feed my family.
True.
I know that you have made sacrifices. What were they? What comes to your mind? Were they good? Were they hard? And when did you realize? Because there was a time that you were doing your job and you wanted to quit your job. And I was like, no, we got to wait a little bit longer. That was a sacrifice.
Right. Yeah.
Can you think of sacrifices that you've made
during
our marriage? Mm-hmm. And to the degree of success where we're at today, I think the sacrifices that we've made have rewarded us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what sacrifices pop in your mind?
Okay. Well, first off, when we were first married, I had some student debt. And so it was, I can't think, it was like $12,000, maybe something. I think to be exact. And so
it was more than that, but I'll just play it.
I'm about to backpedal out of this podcast. So no, but all I knew is that coming out of that, getting my first job at OU and working, that I was going to have to sacrifice in my spending and what I really wanted to do, because what typically was happening, even with some of my friends that were graduating as radiation therapists, were going out, buying their new car, buying their new this, buying the Louis. I mean, I remember my couple good friends getting their first Louis Vuitton purses. I mean, like, I'm kid you not. And like, I just knew because of our conversation.
I'd be hot.
I did not want, no. And Stephen never shamed me. Stephen never said, oh, we will not do this. There was nothing about that. But there was a sense for myself of accomplishment that I wanted for myself. That I was like, you know what? I want to get rid of this because I wanted to challenge myself and see if I could do it and just be disciplined enough to see how fast I could knock it out and get it, and not have, I was just thinking of the freedom at the end of it.
Right.
Like, I don't have to pay something monthly to strap myself down.
Well, I think that the conversations that we had back then, your friends were hurting.
Yeah. And so it was, I sacrificed in that, I say sacrificed, but a lot of people out there, sacrificed in that, like, I just didn't go buy a new car, and I didn't go buy the new purse, and I didn't go shopping at the place when I got my first job. My first job, I was saving, putting a little bit of money back a little bit, and then most of my paycheck was going, 75% of it was paying down that debt.
Right. And why was that?
It was just the long-term vision. Stephen was going into real estate. I was just gaining understanding. I was just getting my feet wet, understanding that it was going to take some sacrifice on our end. And I saw my dad sacrifice a lot for me, driving old cars, driving things. All that stuff was coming back to me. And that, like, if we were going to get somewhere, I was going to have to say no to this now, right now, to say yes to something later.
And I think that's the most important thing, is that to sacrifice now to enjoy later.
Right.
How would you communicate that to, I know a husband could not do that to his wife or girlfriend, but if you had a group of gals, how would you communicate that to them?
I would say that the company itself, they just don't care about you.
You're talking about brands?
Yeah, they don't care about you at all. And I think that big about it. I'm like, just because I'm buying this purse or driving this car, that if I was to see that CEO, I would even not care who I was,
right,
to face, and to be wearing that. And I'm like, who? And then I look at internally in myself, and I say, the friends who are friends with me, or the people that are sitting at my table, they just care about me as a person. They care about the Shanae that doesn't care if I have a purse or a certain car or a certain this or that. They don't care if I have those things. They don't care where I buy my clothes. They care about other things that make me who I am. And so I would ask those ladies to say, apart from these things, who are you? And do those things really make you who you are,
Speaking of that, we're already over time, but what is it like to have, now you have a career, and you did, and you're a mom. Now you have this savvy guy. And a lot of women get frustrated that their husband may be more popular, and vice versa. I was never affected by that, but how as a lady, how do you deal with that?
With the husband being
like
more
the breadwinner,
popular,
or the breadwinner,
like bringing home all the
income.
Oh yeah, that never bothers me, because I don't care about the limelight. Like, my personality, I know you guys have heard Stephen talk about DISC. I'm an I personality, and I know he teases about it. I'm off the chart. I really am an off the chart I. Like, there's no controlling me. I have taken the test even with my company, and I was literally off the chart. Like, there was no chart, and I was completely off of it. So it's true. But I don't need the limelight. I am secure in who I am as who I am as Shanae. It took me a long time to get to that place. But I celebrate in my husband's successes. I celebrate other people's successes outside of my husband. I don't need people to point to me and say, hey, what about you? I love that he's a provider. And I try to esteem him in that way, because I know that helps to, I know it helps to motivate you into it just propels the whole wheel in motion,
sure,
so to speak. Because, if I'm back here saying, what about me, what about me, what about me, what about me? All you're going to feel is beat down, unappreciated. And it's just going to start a terrible cycle.
Well, I think the reality is, why do we do this? Why do men provide? It's for you, for the family.
For the family anyway.
So I think, hey, ladies, no attack there, but you think about the whole goal. He's making sacrifices, and you're making sacrifice for what? For the greater good of the family, the unit, for you, and if you have children.
Right. And I would say, aside from, because there's a ton of working moms out there. And so I just want to talk to them. There's a lot of realtors, there's a lot of women out there who are hustling in real estate. I want to give y'all a high five. I want to tell you guys are awesome. You're rocking it. Because I worked and had a
And mom.
family at the same time. And so I've played all these roles, student, worker, whatever. But here's the thing. If you have a team and you're on the same, he's in real estate or you're in real estate, you got to be on the same team. That would be like the mantra I would say is you're not against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're both in a different idea, it's like having a team playing against a different plan. Like your plan is this, his plan is this. You need to get to know each other's plan. Like how can you merge these? Mm-hmm. If you're a safety person and then and you marry Mr. Riskful, how can you come up a notch on your risk and how can you come down a little bit? And kind of get started there, like
Sure.
just one step in the right direction, because otherwise it's not an all or nothing. It's like we have to be all riskful or it's nothing. It's like, I think a great marriage is like somebody coming in and meeting and saying, hey, we're on the same team. Here's a plan. Let's try this. It doesn't have to be do or die. And then we can make an adjustment in a month or we can make one in 6 months. And
That's awesome. Very valuable. And I think to sum that up, and we'll end with this, and I would love to hear your take on this, but it's communication.
Yeah, we just came back from a week of just relearning about. We've been married over 10 years now. 10 years. It still boils down to communication and really honing in.
This is what I want.
Yeah.
This is what you want. How can we make this work? This
Right.
is what we both would like for the
Right.
children. Private school, I don't know. Is it worth it
Right.
economically?
Yeah.
Is, get these things on the table now.
Yes.
You decide you wanted to move to a specific neighborhood.
Right.
I remember this conversation
Oh my
very,
gosh.
very adamantly, and I was irritated.
Oh my gosh, maybe we should.
Pissed off.
Maybe we should go back into. We
I
need to
mean-
lead this into the next podcast.
Okay, well, that'd be great. We'll open the next. We'll have a series of schnizzle, my whizzle, my part time, full time, everything. Well, we will end there, but we'll end on that. It needs to have communication. So, if you would like a successful, and I think that's with businesses, you have minutes, and corporations when you have board of directors. Why cannot we have minutes as a family? This is
Right.
I think where we're going. A lot of detailed gentlemen out there probably have a spreadsheet, but I think I think that has helped our marriage is like, look, man, we're overspending in this
Right.
area.
Absolutely.
And, this is where we could maybe work better on. But hey, our goal is, hey, we want to go to this summer camp this year. Now, we might need to go to this place as well.
Yeah.
Now we have these two costs. Then we have to get together. How can we make this work?
Right.
Well, you are already thinking about maybe earning some extra income just so we can provide for this one thing that we really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or in my mind, I could think we could just buy another crib, figure out, get 3 more of those
Right. Mm-hmm.
assets to pay for the lifestyle you want,
Absolutely.
And I think it's important if you don't let that be known that this is the lifestyle we want.
Right.
This is the type of environment that we want to be raised, our children to be raised in.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the type of vacations. Because, when we first got married,
Yeah.
I was all cruised out.
Yeah, you were. And before you hit on this is also important because you're talking about lifestyle. And for some people, lifestyle is consumed with things. They want
Newer,
things.
bigger, better.
Newer, bigger, better. And for me, what really changed instead of things was experiences. And
Yes,
I
I
wrote
remember
about
that.
yeah. And so that changed me because I'm like now we will pay to have the experience as a family. And to me, that is going to give us a moment or a time or a place and a memory to go back to. That no, boat. If we had a boat, or
No offense.
or no
to my
offense, I'm just saying.
homie with the boat.
I'm
hey,
just saying,
hey,
I had to throw
we still
something out
want
there.
we still want to go tubing.
Or like or my Infinity XL, whatever. I mean,
Supermom.
it's not gonna. Yeah, I mean, I'm out here rolling my Kia van. It's all beat up already in 1 week because I'm, no skills and
It's okay.
high driving. But here's the thing, though. I mean, like those things don't. Lifestyle is not defined by things. And when I retire, if you ask me that question with lifestyle, it wouldn't be like, oh, I want to have X, Y, Z. It would be like, I want to be these places with my kids and my husband or my dad or mom or whoever. And I want to have these experiences. So that's something to consider when you think of lifestyle.
Well, that was a very good first podcast. I think we've hopefully increased you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world, We'll have other episodes coming shortly. Go to the SavvyRadioShow.com.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at SavvyRadioShow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.